Gadsden.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Writer's Wordshop. Always glad to have you as a viewer to this, program that comes on every Friday night from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And we have a lot of fun talking about writing, the written word, spoken word, however, it manifests itself. And yeah, I'm looking forward to, this evening. We have a very special guest, Brother Gary Germany. Brother Gary is an outstanding musician and singer, and also now he's an author. He has a book out, and we'll be talking with him around 7:30. So I hope that you'll stay tuned for that. And also, Brother Chris always brings up some outstanding videos for us, spoken word videos. And I hope that, Brother Chris, if you can hear me, I hope that you will put up one or two of mine tonight. I'd like to, keep those out there as well. Remind people that we're doing that project and hope to do more in the coming, coming months and everything. And the videos are videos of my poetry that Brother Chris puts to imagery and also music. And I really enjoy, the collaboration here. And I hope that we can just do more of those. So that's what this is all about. A lot of good things coming up. Right now, Sankofa, African American Theater Company, has something down at Gamut Theater. If you have not checked out this outstanding presentation, it has to do with the Eighth Ward. I think it's the third installment of, or maybe second or third installment. It's from the brainchild, the mind of Sharia Ben, and she's an outstanding actress, writer, director. She's just doing it all. Gamut Theater is located down on 4th Street in Harrisburg, right off of 4th and what is that? 4th and Market. Between 4th and Market and 4th and Walnut, I think it is. It looks like a church, but inside you'll see on the outside it says Gamut Theater. Then you go inside and believe me, magic happens. It's really good. So I'm hoping to, catch the presentations this weekend myself, and then also don't forget that Maria Chow, James Chow, has a wonderful program coming up called oh, what is it? Is that something about the hat? I'm blowing it, but I'll find it. I have the thing in front of me here. But she is an outstanding writer, poet, as you know, and professor. And so she's done some tremendous work, and she always does a lot of research in her plays, as does Sharia Ben. And it's gonna be, it's gonna be a big hit. I forget exactly where hers is being held, so I'm gonna try to go to her page. And I don't know if Brother Chris has anything on Sister Maria Child's upcoming play, but you don't want to miss it because I'm telling you, she's always good at what she does. And I have my little thing here in front of me. Let me see if I can find that. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. And by the way, on February the 19th, which is a Sunday, we're having the Writers Workshop. We'll be sponsoring a program, a Black History program, at the State Museum from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And it's going to be a big program. I mean, we're looking forward. There it goes. Thank you, Brother Chris. It's keeping the culture alive. It's a celebration. We'll be honoring 5 families and also 5 individuals who are outstanding keepers of our culture, people who understand, that our history is not something that we just celebrate in February. It's something that we celebrate all along. And it's going to be, again, a free program at 300 North Street is the exact address, but it's, the State Museum, and it's located right there off of Forster, 3rd and Forster, as well as 3rd and North Street. And we have a beautiful auditorium that we'll be using, as always. And it's always a free program, too, by the way. And you'll be, you'll be glad that you came because we're going to have all kinds of entertainment. Plus, we're going to be honoring some outstanding people in our community who truly deserve to be honored. And so that's what we're going to be doing. That's on Sunday, February the 19th. And it is another production of the Writers Workshop, sponsored by, in part, the Pennsylvania Council on the Arts, as well as, the State Museum itself. And Life Esteem and the Writers Workshop are always the sponsors of those, events that we have there. Here you go, Maria Child. Let me see if I can pull up her page here real quick and see what I have. Okay, here she goes. So Maria's play, if I can find the sculpture real quick, the play. It says save the date. That's something else. Uh-huh. Anyhow, I'll find it, and as I find it, I will read it off to you and tell you all about it. And that's Brother Chris. There it goes. Brother Chris is right on it. Harris Story. As you can see, it's February the 7th, 2003. and it says 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. February the 7th. Oh, the auditions are February the 7th. I'm sorry. Well, she's looking for auditions February the 7th, 2003, and you may be interested in that. It's going to take place. The actual production will take place on. Let me see. What does that say? Okay, it doesn't have the date there. That's okay. We'll find it. Public performance. I see it now. It's February May the 4th through the 7th. May the 4th through the 7th. 2003. Thank you, Brother Chris. And that's Saturdays and Sundays, 7:30 p.m. on a Saturday, and also 2:30 p.m. on a Sunday. And it's going to be all that. Church plays are always thought provoking and well written. And I'm glad to see that she's doing a major push for auditions because we have some outstanding talent in our area, and I already know some people who are going to be trying out or already have tried out because I think she's already had some people sign up for auditions already. Anyhow, it's going to be good stuff. So what I'm saying is that in this area, and I'm sorry, no matter where you are, there are some creative minds out there who are writing some outstanding stuff and doing some great things, and you should be part of that. This picture here. Let me comment on this. This was from the World Affairs Council, and they have a wonderful poetry and storytelling festival every year for high school students. On the far left is Shanita Baltimore. Oh my goodness, she brought the house down. She got the only standing ovation that night. We were all honored to be, poets that were featured by the World Affairs Council. You have Christine Titi right next to Shanita Baltimore. You have Maria Chow right next to Christine Titi. You have Rick Kearns right there, and then you have myself. And I will tell you, we had a wonderful time at that event. It was held at the, what is it called? The Civic Club of Harrisburg. And we all read our own poetry. And then we had the young people who actually submitted their works. We honored them by telling who won first, second, third prizes, and even honorable mentions. And the World Affairs Council always does a wonderful job. They had vendors there, and the whole atmosphere was just kind of like magic, And so just hats off to the World Affairs Council. That happened about 2 weeks ago, that event. And believe me, it was hot because the poetry was fantastic. And I really got to say, I mean, everybody. When I listened to Rick Kearns, Christine Titi, who told a story, Maria Chow, who is a master poet, as is Rick, and as is Shanita Baltimore. And then I was honored to be amongst them. And so we had a good time. Anyhow, and also check out, if you will, the Harrisburg magazine and also the Berg magazine. Remember, those are two different magazines, Harrisburg and then the Berg. They are featuring poets and writers always, and also just outstanding community contributors. I call them contributors, leaders, whatever. And they're free publications, by the way. And then also, don't forget the Black Wall Street. And I do write for Black Wall Street, as does Will Brady and so many others. And they're doing an outstanding job of, keeping Black culture alive and here in central Pennsylvania. And that's a free publication as well. You can find it in all kinds of places, laundromats, cleaners, restaurants, the whole bit, and they're free. And we love writing for it. And so, we show them support Black Wall Street. You can always advertise in there as well. And so there's so many other great things going on. There's that art gallery called the Nigeria. I'm saying it wrong. It's going to hit me in a minute, but it's down on off of Third and Broad Street, and they have new leadership now. I see where a brother named Barber, I forget his full name, but he's an outstanding artist. He's now taken over the head of that, and then also there's another person who's lifted up as well. Outstanding gallery. It's a beautiful gallery. The artwork is just breathtaking. So check that out. Anytime you get down the Broad Street Market, check out the Nawuzi, I think I'm saying it wrong, gallery. But you'll see it is right there, right off of the corner of 3rd and Broad Street, right next to the Harrisburg, what do they call it? The Harrisburg Historical Society. It sits right next to that, okay? And for those of us who grew up in Harrisburg, it's in the building of the old Bills 5 and 10. That's way back, man. That's way back. Anyhow, that's what's going on here. There's a lot of good stuff going on here. I want to encourage you all to make sure that you support the programs, the Black History programs that come, your way during the month of February. And there's going to be a lot of them. And there's a lot of great stuff on TV. In fact, one of the things that's airing right now on Fudu, I think it is the 1619 Project, If you haven't read this book, you want to get a copy of this. Unbelievable. The sister just did an unbelievable job, and she has all kinds of stories in here and it tells about our history. Nicole Hannah Jones won the Pulitzer Prize for this book. And now she has actual on Hulu, I think it is, on Thursday nights. They have a series, actual series, based on the book, and they're telling our history and our story. So don't sleep on that. It's well worth it. And the other book that I always lift up, it's been out for a long time. At the same time, it's just an outstanding book that I use this all the time, called Glory Days: 365 Inspired Moments in African American History by Janice Adams. Janice Adams, and it's called Glory Days. Get this, because every page is chock full of a historical event of a particular year, and it's just a good, easy read, and it's just a great resource for anybody that's a writer or lover of our history or whatever. So that's what's happening here. And again, thank you for tuning in to the Writers Workshop. We always have poets like Wendy Noche Onye that comes on as a contributor, and oftentimes is one of the hosts of the program. Ro Brady, same breath. Ro is an outstanding novelist who has won many awards, and right here in Harrisburg. And the same thing with Wendy Noche Onye. She is an outstanding poet, and really outstanding poet. And then you also have people like Neil Owens, who's an outstanding novelist, and has worked on his next project. He has it all kind of laid out as we know. He's won many awards for his books. And he's out of North Carolina. We also have out of New York, our sister Lucille Prouder, what an outstanding poet she is, and she's from Trinidad originally, and then lives in New York now. She always comes over. We had Dr. Dan Snowden. Dr. Dan is a child, really created a voice for himself as a writer, a poet, and he does, a lot of technical kind of writing, poetry. I would say he uses he's a scientist, and he uses his scientist background to create a lot of his poems, and so real good people. And there's others that come on as well. But this is open platform. Also tonight around 8 o'clock, we hope to be joined by the students from the True program. True is an outstanding program. Lillian Bates and Angela Bates and many others are involved in that program. In fact, the first Friday of every month, we try to actually be on location with them. I asked that we not do that tonight simply because of a lot of factors in my life here that's going on. And we decided to just kind of have them come on a Zoom. So they'll be joining us, they said, tonight around 8. And they're doing some projects where they're working on a writer's contest. They'll be doing some project stuff there. I would ask Brother Chris if he doesn't mind bringing up the first video for tonight. We usually have 4 or 5 videos, plus I've asked him to try to find 2 of mine that he's produced. Hey, this is Nanette Swanson. Hey, Nan. How you doing?
Good.
All right. Yeah. And then we have Gary Germany on tonight as well.
Okay, hi.
Gary? Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, Gary he's going to be our featured artist tonight at 7:30, between 7:30 and 8. And yeah, good stuff. Well, now, both of you guys are singers. Do you know Nanette, Gary?
No, I do not.
Okay, well, she's an outstanding singer, as is Gary, by the way. And Gary's produced two or 3 of my CDs for me, and he sang on those and produced the music. Outstanding. And now you're back in Pittsburgh, I understand. Is that right, Gary?
Yes, I am. Yes.
All right, real good. So we'll be talking to Gary at length. And Nanette is is in the Stilton area over here, right, Nanette?
Harrisburg.
Harrisburg now. Okay. I was on
the church is in Stilton. I'm down there all the time.
There you go.
Well, I'll look forward to meeting you soon.
I know Gary knows of the Scott White family, right?
Yes.
So there you go. That's
okay.
That's part of that family.
Okay.
Scott Whites. Yeah. So, but I'm glad she's a writer. She's actually written some really good stuff that I hope that she'll do more with, because she can write. And she does a piece for us also, Gary, where she does the slave narratives and songs at a lot of our programs. She's developed a really nice piece, and we hope that she'll be with us again on February the 19th. Haven't talked to her about that yet, but we will talk.
Yeah.
Sunday, February the 19th. Okay. So I'm going to ask Brother Chris if he'll pull up the first video for the night. Thank you, Brother Chris.
James Baldwin talked about love explicitly as the most difficult, dangerous, but also the most significant force in the world. Why? Because if you come from a people who have been so hated, love can become subversive and transformative, beginning by loving yourself.
We were, we are, and we will be Black history. Picture a people caramelized under African sun, raising strong families, radiant daughters, and African sons. Black history was already being made. Ask Tertullian, the first Black church father. Google it. We come from grandfathers and grandmothers, church planters and church fathers. The hands of my ancestors built this country and shaped my faith, all while being told that they were not worthy. This is why Black self-love is a form of resistance, a persistence on our own existence. Like Shirley Chisholm, we're not gonna ask for permission. This is our inheritance, with a heart like Baldwin that just keeps beating, a mind like Malcolm that never thinks of retreating, with the grit of Harriet that just keeps on believing. It is our birthright to be sojourners for truth. This is why our people, we make something good out of everything. We never take an L. It's our legacy to follow leaders who lift eyes toward liberty. Literary lionhearts who left us a lineage of being limitless in the way that we lean on God. Boldness is in our bloodstream. The same confidence Black mothers have cleaning pots and pans after they know they put their foot in them greens. Like the Black church has always been a catapult. Look at the way that it launches stars. They ask us, how do you have faith still? After all you've been through, how can you sing the way you do? I asked them a question. How did we invent rock and roll while we were still singing the blues? Like, they ask us, your faith, why is it not in a shredder? How do you still believe? I asked them, well, how? During bondage, did we invent mac and cheese? You're welcome, Earth. We held on because we have a Father who said, all things work together for our good. And we believe that we can do this together. So how are we still here? It's no longer a mystery. We were, we are, and we will be Black history.
Yeah, I like that. So put that together. He even got mac and cheese in there. I'm thinking, all right.
One of the famous dishes.
Yeah, that's all right. Well, look, Nanette, what's going on with you? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I know it was cold out there today. I said, I ain't going back out.
That's right.
I got into a little baking frenzy. I made some chocolate chip cookies, but upside down cake, pineapple upside down cake. Some donuts. I tried to make these donuts and I saw this recipe on with the Pillsbury dough, Pillsbury biscuit. Turned out kind of good.
Okay. Everything I don't need, but I want.
I know. I'm taking it down to church.
All right, way to do it. Yeah, we actually, tonight I was just saying to Brother Gary that we're supposed to be over at the True program, one location. And LaShawn McCoy, the great football player, and his brother, by the way, who also played in the NFL. A lot of people tend to forget that. And their mother, they have a foundation called the what is it called? The McCoy Foundation, I guess it is, or the Sean McCoy Foundation. What is it? But anyhow, they're doing great stuff. They're building a building here in Harrisburg. They're building something down in Philadelphia, doing a lot of stuff. But anyhow, she has a nice building over off of 3rd and Woodbine Street. And that's where the young people meet on the Friday night. And we were going to go over there. And last month we were on location with them. It was a lot of fun too. But tonight I had some other things I had to do, and also it's cold. They're going to join us by Zoom, they said, around 8 o'clock. So we're looking forward to having young folks come on. Always the first Friday of the month.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah, I mean, as cold as it was, I wanted to forget. I'm like, y'all still meeting? Okay. Anyhow, so that's all good. So that's what's going on. We're going to go on and turn to our good brother, Brother Gary. I know it's a little bit, before 7:30, but why not? He's here. Let's get to talking about our good brother. Gary, you did send the book cover, I know, to brother, Chris, but you also
Yeah.
had some music. And I gave Chris a copy of it. And brother Chris, could I have you come on for a minute? Thanks, bro.
Evening,
You remember
everyone.
the one CD that I gave you? It was, and Brother Gary produced it. Do you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, I thought I gave it back to you, but if I didn't, I'm sure it's at the studio.
No, it doesn't matter. But you did do that one video for me that actually featured his music on it.
Well, I thought a couple of those videos had his music on.
Okay,
I'm giving
good. Then you did.
credit for him anyway, I believe, on YouTube.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. It was from the CD that we did. Yeah.
Sisters with
So what I want you to
sisters
do is, say it again.
with Sister Harrisburg. The poem.
Sister. I think that was the one that I wanted you to pull up. Can you put the one up, Sister? Because he sings on that one,
Yes, he
and
does.
also
Okay,
expanded music and stuff. Yeah. So
sure.
if
Give
you,
me.
yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
Now I was gonna say, go ahead. If you take a couple minutes, if you can pull that up, just let
No
us know when
problem at
you're
all.
ready.
Sure.
Okay.
Hey,
Thank
Dan,
you.
how you
This will be
doing?
this will be a pleasant surprise for me.
Yeah. How many years ago did you produce that thing? I have no idea. It was a long time ago
Yeah,
that
I
you
think it was around 2002, 2003, right in that
long
area.
time. Yeah, I think so. I think it was about that time, man. Yeah. Yeah. So what I've been playing with is my poetry and doing some videos. Brother Chris has been putting together some videos for me. And I hope to maybe put it out there on a CD one day. But right now we're just producing and just having fun with it. But yeah, But
Wonderful.
anyhow, yeah. So when he pulls that up. But tell us about your book before we get going on that. Tell us about your book.
All right. Well, the book is called Domestic Violence: The Fight for Your Life.
Mm,
And it actually is a generational book. It tells the story of um, my experience first witnessing domestic violence,
Hmm.
me hearing about it through the lineage of my grandparents, and then I myself, and so it's interesting because in marketing the book, one of the things that it says is come and join and see this journey
Mhm.
of a Christian man, leader, singer, and how he
Yeah.
became an abusive husband.
Oh,
And
wow.
then also how he triumphantly came through on the other side
Mhm.
and learned, you know, to utilize behaviors that exhibit healthy relationships. And
Wow.
it's
Nice.
it's interesting because this book goes back, well, the start of it, well, should I say, more than 33, 35 years. So if you met me anytime after that,
Mhm.
I would tell people about the book and they would say, oh, what, you've experienced that? And, then right away, first thing people think about was I was in a situation where I was abused, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
But actually, in my particular situation, family structure, I was the one who first initiated.
Okay.
And so, what I do talk about in the book is, for instance, we all say that I love you. And so I address right from the beginning in the prefix, what is love? And which is found in 1 Corinthians 13:4-7. It says, love is patient, love is kind, it is not jealous, it does not boast, it is not puffed up, it is not rude,
Mhm.
does not seek its own interest, it's not quick-tempered, it does not rejoice over wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. So
Yeah.
in my particular situation, I accepted Christ as a teenager, 14. Okay, I accepted my call in the ministry at 15. But I didn't really know anything about relationships. There was this trauma that I had experienced that was deep down in my subconscious. And, we always hear the story of the perfect storm, when all of these elements come together and then havoc breaks loose. And I explore what happened in my life and how that I found myself in a situation where, honestly, I was truly lost.
Mm.
And you find out that insecurities play a major role in that also, And so, for instance, one of the things that I talk about in the book was I say that, well, first off, I began to write the book during the pandemic. So April the 8th, I was kind of waking out of my sleep at 5:20 a.m. And so as I woke up, I heard God's voice speak to me very quietly and saying, now is the time to share this message. Now, what's interesting is when I share this story now, and not out of ignorance, I may have a smile on my face, but yet I do understand how horrific domestic violence in any form can be. But I must share with you where the smile comes from. Okay. The smile comes from that I carried a burden of shame for over 30 years. Just shame of what happened and how that the second chapter, I call it, I would never. And here I did that which I never thought I would have done.
Yeah.
And so after carrying this shame for over 30 years, I finally was healed. And I was healed by driving through the desert in California. I was driving through the desert, and I didn't want to drive to California, and I'm saying, oh man, I got to do this. I'm coming at, but God met me on that road coming back. Okay. So when I would look at my experience living in New Jersey, I would say, oh, I didn't lose anything in New Jersey, because that's where I saw the worst of me. And so I would always look back there, like I'm saying, as shame. But when I began to be healed, and when God took the hurt and the disappointment that I had and lifted it in me, he was now molding me that I would be able to go and share this story of domestic violence, the fight for your life.
I am so glad you are sharing this, brother, because, we do a lot of work with men. And there's some great groups out there. I always think of Derek James and the work he's doing. I met a brother out of Philadelphia who's doing something statewide, and so many other people. And then I do things as well with our, family programs. You're one of the first brothers that I've met who's coming out from that particular perspective, from the perspective of someone who abused and now is. So you're going to do an awful lot of helping brothers to heal, because you're able to speak up and to self-actualize and to let it go and to say it and own it. And so the rest of us who've been sitting around here holding up, no, we got to let that stuff go. Men, I'm speaking as a man here. And then there are women also, because I've, used to run groups who have been the abuser. They were the ones who were, throwing the left hooks, right hooks, and frying pans and everything else under the sun. And if it wasn't physical, it was verbal. It was, beating the person down in the spirit, So it can be anybody. So here's a question I want to ask you. Help us, and, I don't want you to give away the whole book or anything like that. I just want you to help us understand some basic, landmarks and some concepts that you're kind of lifting up tonight. So what do you think ultimately contributed, triggered you, whatever, into being the abuser in your relationship? Was there one thing or a conglomerate of things? What would you put your finger on?
I can answer that question. And it wasn't one, it was a combination of things that begin to build up. And honestly, what happened, we've all heard the phrase displaced anger. Yeah. I was truly upset, mad at myself. And I saw myself as a failure. You ever hear the expression, well, I'm sure you've heard it, I've heard it growing up, where I would hear older people talk and say, oh, he's like mad at the world, and he's taking that out on her. Okay. Well, there's so much truth in that. I actually felt during this period, after so much success prior to that, okay? And I moved to New Jersey, and I just felt like a failure. You know, all of a sudden, I lost confidence in myself. You know, every movement that was going around, I'm just, you know, thinking I'm not worthy of her love.
Yeah.
You know, and then you get to the point where you're trying to control a situation.
Yeah.
You know, and how sad that anyone would think to try to control anyone else. And I'm just speaking from a man's perspective, because we should be held accountable, you know, and we should own it. And I wrote songs about domestic violence, 3 or 4 different versions, and put one of them out. But it wasn't the fact that it was the song. You know, during the pandemic, and God was telling me, look, you have to share all of this message, because only when you share this message, people will find hope and redemption like I did. You know, so it is my prayer that teaching, like, say, for instance, people may talk about seminars, how to earn money. Okay, you've got to follow the blueprint. And if you follow the blueprint, I guarantee you, I can't guarantee the results, but I can guarantee you success. Okay, but in our families, who really talks about domestic violence? For instance, conversations at a home, you know, not how are you doing, but also how are you feeling? Did you experience something today and you struggled on how to get through it? You know? And we, go ahead, you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm just going to ask you real quickly. So, you know, you said you moved to Jersey, and again, I really appreciate you sharing this, man. How long had you been with your wife, right? Was it just your wife,
Yes,
or just
yes.
okay.
No, it was with my wife.
Okay, did it start immediately or before the marriage, or were you in it and then you found yourself, you said you just felt like a failure, whatever. You know, how long were you together
This
before it really
this
started? Or
this started
Go ahead.
about a year and a half into us meeting,
Okay,
you know? And also what was interesting was I was in Phoenix at the time.
okay.
And so I was doing really, really well in Phoenix. And I decided to move to New Jersey. So my plan was literally that after we got married, I was going to continue working in Arizona, and then save up some more money and go to New Jersey. All right. I deviated from the plan. I changed the plan. And what happened was, financially, first off, it was a blunder. You know, so right away, I put my family in situations that was hardship, you know, because I didn't stick to the plan. I'm just got to get there, got to get there, got to get there. You know what I'm saying? And all, she's there, and believe beauty is an eye to beholder, and I beheld all that she was, you know, and oh man, I can't, another man around her, whatever. But actually, to tell you the truth, also, they say what you sow, you reap, but you don't always reap them in the same season. Okay. So perhaps when I was, as a teenager, a young man, because I got married, I waited till I was 28 because I really lived and I wanted to do so many different things, which I did. Okay. But just maybe me not respecting boundaries with women prior to that. Okay. Now it's eating me up. It's tearing me apart. So again, I've got insecurities. I've got my own guilt coming back to me, things that I've done and what I did, other men can do also. You know what I'm saying? So I've got this warped perspective. And one of the worst things that would happen is I was isolated. I was by myself. Woe is a person that fall without any friends. You know, I didn't have an outlet, you know, and so by me walking alone and facing all of this, it just collapsed. Poor decision making. And that's what it is. It's poor decision making, you know, and it is reacting to a situation opposed to responding. So what if we were trained to understand how to respond to situations, even emotional situations, so that when we're caught off guard and this situation is happening, then I do know how to handle myself. You know, I don't have to have the last word when we're having a discussion. Why is it so important for me? Like I just told you, we talked about all the things that love is. I will tell you this one thing. I state in the book, the beauty of a lifetime came to me in my lifetime when I saw you as my bride. The heavens opened up and the earth stood still when I heard you say, I do to me. Wow. You know what I'm saying? What a moment. But somehow in the madness, I forgot about that. Yeah. Now you get on my nerves. I can't stand you. You know, you're a bee. I wish I lived by myself. You know, now I wish I lived by myself. I regret ever saying them words, you know, but it's being trained. Because even though I'm talking about domestic violence and right away people think of relationships between two spouses, but I'm really talking about healthy relationships that work in every facet of our life. You know, brother, sister, aunt, uncle, niece, co-workers. We all should have healthy relationships and know truly how to respect someone, even if we think they're doing us wrong.
And can I jump in there just for a minute? And I want to get Nan in here too, because, you know, I want to get a woman's perspective. You know, right now it is, without, you know, any kind of guessing or talking about percentages and all that, we know that women are getting the short end of the stick when it comes down to domestic violence. Whenever you say domestic violence, you don't think of a woman abusing a man. It's always you think of a man abusing a woman. And so we're trained and taught somehow to look at women in a certain way. And even though, and I love the description that you just gave, that you was able to stand there and to see her as this beautiful bride and all that, but then later on calling her names and this and that. So a lot of times, from what I've gathered, I'm not saying I'm right here, but it seems as if as men, we have egos that says that we must be right. We have egos that says you should almost, bow down to us or whatever, or that the world is revolving around us. And as I'm listening to you, it seems to me that you were saying, I made decisions to move from Phoenix to New Jersey. I made decisions to do this, do that. So it seemed as if you just decided to take the reins and run with it. What was her thinking at the time? Did she want to move to New Jersey? Did you see her as your equal, or what was going on with your wife at that time?
Well, what was great was she was starting a business in New Jersey.
Okay.
And so since I did really well in Phoenix, my thought was maybe I could duplicate this in New Jersey. Okay. But that wasn't the case, Yeah.
So what went wrong? Well, I want to, Nanette, did you want to jump in there? I don't want to just dominate, Yeah.
Well, I mean, if I'm looking back over the years back, like the 50s, 60s, 40s, whatever, I was born in 40s, women were always the lesser. Like they didn't seem like much to say of anything. We were, I guess, supposed to be beneath the men and follow what they say or do. That's the way I sort of look at it then, because I don't think we got a lot of respect as being Black women. I was in a relationship, marriage for 17 years with my ex-deceased husband. And when we get in fights, I didn't think of it as domestic violence then, because I held my own.
All right.
But anyway, it was, it was sort of, I credit him being in the Vietnam War, out of school, a young man going there and having his brain traumatized and getting on the drugs and stuff. So when he came back, him and his brother, twin brother, they weren't mentally strong, the way I see it, and knowing anything about a relationship. And he was raised by his grandmother. His mom was around, but he, I guess after we got married, I guess he thought, well, I was going to stay home and he's going to go and run the streets and do what he wanted to do, you know. And there were nights when, you know, the bar was right up the street. I'd have to go up to the bar, drag him out the bar. But deep down, he was a good person. You know, he loved his kids. But we would get into it because if he would lose a pool game up at the bar, he'd want to maybe come home and fight with me. So, but I wasn't raised like that. So, you know, I was in the church, you know, church background. And there were times, you know, I prayed, you know, Lord, get me out of this, you know, and the Lord did. He worked through it. I stayed with him. We'd have some knockdown, drag out fights. You know, and he was a womanizer. He had women, you know, that one woman threw a brick through our window. And there was women that would call on the phone. I'd give him the phone. You know, different stuff like that. It was crazy. But I didn't look at it as domestic violence then. I guess because they didn't talk about it. You know, what happens in this house stays in this house. That was the saying back then. You know, you didn't spread your business out in the street unless you maybe told your sister or your mom or something like that. But they said you make your bed, you stay in it. You married that man, you stay there. I had people when I used to go to church crying on prayer meeting night. They said, don't leave your house, don't leave your husband. You know, like God was just going to deliver him out of it. You know, don't leave. And so I never left. But there came to a point where, you know, it got really bad with him being with other women and stuff that I said, no more. You know, this got to stop. So.
Can I ask you a question, Annette? When you hear Gary speak, you know, I'm talking from the perspective of someone who, you know, was the abuser, that kind of thing. What do you think this book will do? How do you see it? How do you think people will respond to it, especially men?
Well, because I know there's still men holding stuff in. They're carrying shame and burden. Like I just this past Wednesday, I was at a church and the pastor was saying, you know, he used to be a drug dealer. He was in drugs. And then it sort of came back to his mind, you know, the shame and how bad and terrible he felt, you know, that he did these things and put this stuff on his wife. And they, you know, and here he's a minister of a church. Am I good enough? Am I supposed to be here? But I like I said, that was the devil telling him or attacking his mind, because God can use people that's been in situation. That's the people he used. Look at all the people in the Bible. You know, they weren't no saints. You know, but the devil will try to use you to think you ain't good enough to be pastor of a church. You ain't good enough to be sharing, having people under you and this, that, and the other. But I think that's just an attack of the devil in your mind.
Amen to that. Amen. Yeah. You know, Gary, the book is on Amazon, I understand. It's going to be on Amazon. It's currently on Amazon. Okay.
Yes, it is.
So before we get off, I want you to make sure we have the particulars of how to purchase. I definitely want to get a copy of it and maybe get copies for you know, men that I know who are dealing with this kind of thing. So when you wrote it, and this is, it sounds like it's a release for you. It's a, I don't know, an awakening, whatever you want to call it. But as you see the book being marketed, how do you plan to market the book, and who do you think will buy it?
Great question. Who will buy it? I don't know. Someone that realized, okay, I want to hear his story and how did he really overcome this and what went on, because what I do talk about in the book, though, is generational, how I saw it and how it affected me. First off, you know, because for instance, as a child, I remember my parents were arguing during this one time, you know, and I come down the stairs and, you know, I'm kind of shaken because of the arguing. But what happened was my stepfather was not the type of man to put his hands on my mother in an aggressive manner. Okay. So I stated in the book, more than likely at the time of their discussion, my mother didn't know how to handle the confrontation. You know, maybe she thought she was lied on, you know what I'm saying? So I'm hearing them argue. Maybe they thought that no child was around. So I grabbed a kitchen knife and I grabbed this knife to protect my mother. Okay, but in the midst of them seeing me with the knife, it did de-escalated everything. Okay, now at that time, and I'm saying at that specific time, I did not witness physical violence, but for me, it became trauma. And it was that emotional trauma that stayed with me. And then years later, I saw, you know, physical, you know, fighting.
Yeah, yeah. That's powerful. Yeah. You know, people don't, I mean, we talk about secondhand trauma. You know, like you said, I saw it and that was trauma to you. So sometimes it's not a matter of whether or not it's happening to you, it's whether or not you're exposed to it, you know. And
Yes,
so
absolutely.
yeah. And so many of our men have grown up seeing other men mistreat women and thinking that's the way it's done. And I was
Oh,
just sharing,
absolutely.
yeah. And I was
I've
sharing
heard
with
a
someone
lot of people
today,
say that,
yeah,
meaning men. I've heard a lot of men say what you need
that's
to
right.
do is you put your hands on her and you put her in her place.
There
That's
you
that's
go.
that's, that's backwards teaching.
I
You know what
will
I'm
never
saying?
forget the movie Purple, Color Purple,
Oh
when
yeah,
Oprah Winfrey's character was well, she was talking to Harpo, and then they
yes,
turns to him and he said, "What should I do?" And she said, "Beat him." But that was Whoopi Goldberg that says
Yeah,
that.
Whoopi
She said,
said
"Beat
that
him."
too.
Yeah,
yeah,
Whoopi Goldberg said that. Yeah, she
yeah,
said, "Beat him." And it's like he
yeah.
looked at her, what? But that, hey, even a woman was saying this. Come on now. And then when Scheherazade Ali came out with her book, I don't know if you remember, Scheherazade Ali basically was saying, a woman needs to be slapped around sometimes. And I'm just saying basically, I'm not paraphrasing, but that's the way it came out. And it was like, what? They had a man as the head, and these women get out of pocket. And the man needs to what?
But
That's why she got on the circuit. Uh-huh.
I was going to say, Reverend Gasson, what's crazy about that train of thought? Okay, and that actually goes back all the way back to slavery as well.
Yep.
Okay, but it's just like going back to marketing the book. How do I want to market? I want to stand in front of as many people as I can. And thank you for this medium tonight, right? The scripture talks about wisdom stands on a rooftop crying, telling you which way to go. Okay. Now I have two messages. One, people don't want to hear about the gospel. And people don't want to talk about domestic violence, but they're both needful in order for us to be whole. So the message is cry out loud, and somebody is going to get it. And if I can change, okay, someone else can, and the next person can, and the next person can.
Amen. And you know what is beautiful about this as well? You were a man of the cloth at the time when this was
Yes,
happening. Yes or no? Yeah.
yes,
And so
yes.
we got to, we just got to be honest about it. People say, "Oh, the people in the church." People in the church are just like anybody else. We're people, and so why do they think the church is being different? They say that the hospitals for where sick people go. Well, churches where sinners go. This is where we go, and we get it sooner or later, hopefully. But to think that all of a sudden we just automatically magically change is ridiculous.
Okay,
No.
but let me add something in there, okay? Because
Mhm.
true enough, okay, church is where the sinners should go, okay?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But when we accept Christ, we don't remain sinners because now we're transformed, okay? No longer in the kingdom of darkness into the kingdom of light. So therefore, let your mind be renewed.
Every
So
day.
at the same time, I'm
Yeah.
asking, okay, with this information that I'm putting out to people, that their mind would be renewed,
Yeah.
okay, so they can learn how to handle situations appropriately. I'm not saying you're never going to get upset, no, but there's a way you handle it.
And
Absolutely.
men need to talk to men more Like
Yes.
maybe get in groups or something and talk. Like, I mean, we women, we share everything. We share with one another. We talk about our situation. But men, they don't do that. You know, they
They
keep
do it
stuff
more
to
than what you may
themselves.
think, but we do it on our terms. There was a book called Tally's Corner, and that was an old classic book back in, graduate school days. But yeah, it was about men talking to men. So it's been going on but how do you do it? T.D.
Yes.
Jakes does a wonderful piece too on, how men talk to men and women talk to, and I forget the name of that particular book, but anyhow, I have the video where he just lays it out. It's fantastic. But men have to do it on their terms. And that's to Nan's point. Women talk, men don't always talk, but when we do talk, we have to do it on our terms. And so locker room talk, whatever, but we get it out there. But I will say this to you right now, Derek James and Russell Goodman, some other guys, they're having these men's breakfasts here in Harrisburg, and they've become extremely successful. And the last one was so big, they had to take it to the Hilton, from what I understand. And they usually do it, I think, like once a month or once every 2 months, something like that. I will definitely recommend to them that you become a speaker for them, because they do have
Absolutely.
speakers and they've had, different guys come in. I think you'll be an excellent speaker. And this is something that these men, Christian brothers who are coming together, need to
Yes.
talk about this. Because as you
Absolutely.
said, this is what you're supposed to enter into all of that. Yeah, I agree with you 1,000%. The question is, do some men not enter? They're in the church, they're in the pulpit,
Right.
they're living that secret double life. They go
Yes.
home, and then the one guy, I love this piece where I was driving down to Philadelphia, and I think this is white pastor, but anyhow, him and his wife and children were in church every single day, every evening they were there doing something, and they had this new pastor that came to town, and he was there for about maybe 6 months or more. And finally, he said to them one day, he said, "I want to talk to you," and just to the father. And he said, "What's going on in your home?" He said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Obviously, you're not happy in your home." He said, "Because you're always here at the church." He said, "Well, wait a minute, He said, "No, brother." He said, "Let me tell you something." He said, "I was you." He said, "I was abusive to my wife. I was distant, the whole bit." He said, "When I see you marching into this church every single day with your family, other people say, 'Oh, look at that. They're so Christian.' He said, I say, 'Look at that. They're so fake.' He said, 'I know what you're
Right.
hiding. You're hiding that.
Right.
You don't even,'" he said, "Sir, let me tell you something. When we go home, we don't even talk to one another." He says, "And if we talk to one another, it's out of anger." He said, "But as soon as we come marching down that street, put that smile on, got that Bible up on their arms." He said, "And I can quote every scripture in the Bible." He said, "But when I get home, something happens to me." He
Mm.
said, "How
Yeah.
did you know?" He said, "Because I was you." He said, "And when I see it, I call it for what it is, because that's what God asked me to do." He said, "So I'm not trying to put you down on that." He said, "That guy turned around to be one of the most faithful." He said he started sharing his story. The wife started talking about it, and that just opened up a whole new conversation at church. So, we quote scriptures at people in order to keep people away from us. You are now telling us something that we really know exists, but you also had a scripture to back it up. And you're telling the truth. You're telling your story without any filters. And I really appreciate you for that, man, because not everybody can
Thank
do that. In the church, we are taught not to do that, right? And that's sad. That's really sad. They used to get up and say, "Testify to tell a lie," all that kind of stuff. What is that? Just
you.
testify. Testify. Come on, tell the truth. But then people say, "Oh, you go too far. You shouldn't have said that," this kind of thing. Wow. It's amazing,
Well,
man.
thank you so much. What was interesting was before the title was going to be domestic violence. Let's talk about it, okay? Because people sweep issues underneath the rug. Nobody really talks about it,
Amen.
okay? But when I thought about domestic violence, the fight of your life, okay? Again, this goes with every situation, every relationships we have. So we should talk about it. You know what I'm saying? And come up with a plan. One of the things I talk about is poor planning prevents proper planning prevents poor planning. Proper
Performance.
planning prevents poor performance. There we
There
go.
you go. Yeah. Here's the thing, though. Can I say something to you? One of the things, it's interesting when we just talked this afternoon, and I asked you to come on the show, and I had no idea about your book. Then I saw your book cover, and I saw the title, and so my wife and my daughters were here, and they were talking. And said, "Oh," and they were interested. So Terry, who is a writer and a publisher, she said to me immediately. She said, "Well, is he talking about himself, or is he talking about this?" So one of the things that just marketing wise, it hits me. If you had said your title, say it one more time.
Domestic
Domestic violence,
violence, the fight of your life.
the fight of my life would have been a powerful piece because now people
Right.
know it's autobiographical. And
Right.
believe me, people gravitate to autobiographical. So, that's just a thought. I'm not
Yeah.
saying you got to change the title, but now it's about Gary Germany. And your tip, I mean, I love reading people's stories because it's their story. And I usually can find myself somewhere in their story. If it's just a book about anybody and it's kind of preachy and it's kind of like, that's okay. That's cool too. I can read that. But when I know it's about you and you're telling me something and it's a truth, wow, because that opens me up to be able to tell my truth.
And does it say Reverend Gary Germany?
It doesn't say that on the cover because a lot of people know me because I do a couple different things as just Gary Germany, opposed to branding it as clergy, but yet it's not hidden in the book.
Okay.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's like Nate said, like Nate, you were saying, the fight of my life.
But you know what's interesting? You both are giving me great ideas.
I'm telling you, man, what Dan's saying to you right now, listen, in the church settings, Church of God in Christ has huge conventions, this and that. And this is a subject matter that will be, it'll be talked about. Because there was a lady, we had a book signing down at Temple University, and she was walking around and oh my goodness, she had been abused by 4 or 5 different preachers, she said. And you couldn't say anything to her. I mean, she was angry the whole bit. And we had a massive turnout there for that book signing. But she almost sold the show. And the whole thing was to put down the churches and all these fake preachers and this and that. And this one sister finally went up to her and said, I'd be okay with you if you told me that you had a bad relationship with a preacher. But 5? She said, you don't see yourself in that equation? How did you know? What were you digging for? If they were so abusive to you and she just went off and they got to go on the head wagon. It was crazy. She had this car with the big old sign on it about, preachers or this or that. Oh, man, it was wild. But the point being, she was talking about something that happened to herself. It was controversial and all that kind of stuff, but it did draw a lot of attention. And when you looked over and saw who was buying what books, I mean, people were kind of flocking to her table. And I thought, wow, look at this. I think people will flock to your table. And to man's point, Reverend, Gary Germany, this is, my journey, the fight for my life, of my life kind of thing. You'll be on, and then develop a speaking, platform around your book. Just like you're doing tonight. You're so versed in the Bible. You're so transparent. You're a great musician. You're well written a little bit. I mean, I would just bring all that into a presentation and an inviting of let's have this conversation. There's a guy out of Philadelphia. It was not my idea, but the late Vera Cornish. She heard me do my poetry. She heard this guy do his poetry, and she knew that this guy had this massive thing down in Philadelphia, an event. And I mean, he took over. And I do events here, right? But nowhere near what he was doing. I mean, this guy had all kinds of stars coming over, but she knew what his journey was and what he was hurting about. So I was the poet, he was the organizer. So she said, I want you 2 guys to come together and you're going to do something called In the Living Room. And we were like, huh? She said, Nate, I just want you to do your poetry and I want you to talk the way you always talk. And I want this guy to tell his story and we got Penn State, this, that. I mean, people just started eating it up. And then unfortunately, his schedule, my schedule a whole bit. But it's like, wow, the circuit, man. And, I didn't see myself going way out there with it and everything. But Vera could see that kind of stuff. And I'm saying to you, I see you right now on that circuit. They have these huge men's conferences, by the way. And we put them on here in Harrisburg as well. Not as big as I used to because we were with the United Way at the time. But there's a brother out of Philadelphia who wrote a book called I Hate You. And it's about that thick and about that. I mean, it's a real small book. Slaughter, I think it's like Gary Slaughter or something like that. So I got a chance to meet him. And what happened was his father killed his mother when he was a little kid. And his father ended up going to prison. And so he grew up knowing the story, but never really knowing his father. And so he started thinking about that thing. And he wrote this book saying, I hate you. And he was just because of what you are doing a whole bit. So to make a long story short, Gary, did we lose you?
No, there we go.
Okay, there you go. Great. So to make a long story short, he took the book. It's a pamphlet, really. It's not even a book, just a little pamphlet. He put it in his father's mail slot or stuck it up in his door or whatever. Found out where his father lived. They both lived in Philadelphia. And then his father read it, and his father actually got afraid. He thought the boy was coming after him because he was calling him all kinds of names the whole bit. And he was running around telling everybody about this book. His father contacted him and said, I want to write a foreword to your book. And he did, and it was very raw from his standpoint of what he did, and he owned up to it the whole bit. And then it was domestic violence. And then somehow someone talked him into doing a presentation at the University of Penn, I believe, where they both, knowing that they were going to meet for the first time, he was angry with his dad, and his dad was like, as long as you don't attack me physically now, this kind of thing. He said, no, I wouldn't do that. So they sat there and they talked, and they were raw. And it was so good, the people said, we need to have you do this more often. They went all over the place,
Absolutely.
talking about. Now, there's a guy by the name of Jonathan Queen. Have you met Jonathan Zaki Queen?
I have not.
Okay, so Jonathan grew up in Harrisburg. He went to prison, did like a federal prison 10 years, but he went in and out of jail. He wrote a number of books. One book is called Are You Sane? Setting a New Example. And he was a drug dealer. He was a banger. He was doing everything. And he just did a number of other books. But anyhow, make a long story short, Jonathan's son came up to one of our men's group. It was actually an Exodus group of people coming out of prison. And Tim White was running it at the time. And Tim, I don't know if you know Tim, but anyhow, and his son was coming with this press against his will almost, but he came to say, this is why I hated my father. This is what was going on. And it was that domestic violence, how you treated my mom, and then you went to prison and you weren't no good, blah, blah, blah. And Jonathan encouraged him to tell his truth. And now they're the best of friends. Jonathan is the youth pastor in Maryland, and he has like this massive contract. I was one of the people that was a reference for him, but he just took over the entire youth ministry, and it's a huge church. I'm talking about thousands, but it's not just his church. They come from all over Maryland. These youth do. So he's quite a person. So I'd like you to get hooked up with him because this guy knows how to do it. He's a promoter. He's a great speaker.
Thank you.
He's a great minister. He's a great minister. And a young man, relatively speaking still, but he did that hard time. He was abusive. He has a beautiful wife. She is absolutely gorgeous. She went and got her master's degree now. She's in the ministry too. She started off with no degree, and now she's worked herself up to the bachelor's and the master's. They make a dynamic team. And there's some other people out there who are really doing it on that national level. I really believe that you could be a national spokesperson with the book that you have and the vision that you're doing it. Not just, you're telling your truth, but there are other men out there, especially clergy and other men in the church. I'll just say it this way, and I'll let it go because I know I run my mouth. But there was a woman who contacted me recently, and she just said, you ought to come over to this church. She said, oh no. She said, you don't know my story. So what? She said, that pastor, she said, one of the ministers beat me. She said, oh my God. She said, I was terribly abused, and they did nothing to him. She said, he's still in that church. He's still in leadership. She said, we had the police involved and everything, but, and she said, that scarred me. And I just heard that. And I said, come on. So you'll be speaking to a lot of people, and I just hope that you will take that step out boldly. And that's not to condemn anybody. That's to wake people up and hopefully to help them heal. So the next part to you then is you obviously in the book give us some sage, advice about how you overcame some of this stuff and how you were able to let go. So, don't give the book away, but, does the book help us to understand your journey in terms of healing and letting go? And also, are you still with your wife, or, and how did she feel about the book?
Okay. And Reverend Gary, yes. Are you still in the pulpit? You still?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Well, you do have, God put you there for a reason.
Amen.
Absolutely.
A lot of men probably in your congregation need to hear your message.
Well, I'm glad to have the book. And like I said, I'm glad to share it. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
I'm believing God, all right, for invitations like this and other ones that I will gladly accept because I know that it's healing. And only when you confront yourself, and that's what I put in the book also, okay? I got to a point when I realized that I had a problem. And only when I realized I had a problem and I accepted me, meaning accountability, then that's when the change started to take place.
Right, you came to yourself.
So, and I believe that other people can be confronted in love. And if they really understand that they can benefit, you know how you go to, say, an outing, and I know that growing up, you go to an outing and there's always this, that, somebody. You know what I'm saying? That you have the nice time, everything is going well, but then because of their behavior, they
Right.
just tear it all apart. Okay.
Yeah.
I know.
Now imagine that person though leaving by themselves, wishing that they had better tools to use, that the outcome wouldn't have been that way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so I think this can be challenged in so many different ways, but you have to have tools. You have
Right.
to open up your mind, and you have to accept, okay, what I'm doing is not working. And no one is born learning how to, no one is born just being a terror. These are things that we learn, destructive behaviors. And you can actually unlearn disruptive behavior.
And
So,
you
Brother
could be
Barrett,
that person.
okay.
You could be that person that could take him aside, maybe,
Yes.
a disrupted person. And so he don't have to leave the way he came, and
Yes.
talk to him, you know, if
Yes.
God leads you that way.
Amen.
So part of the tools then, so we have these men's group that meet, you know, and they're pretty effective. That's just one of the tools that people use. These men groups that are very, very dynamic. I mean, we don't pull any punches, kind of thing. But what other tools would you recommend? I mean, individual therapy. What else? What else did you? Because we mentioned tools, but I'm sure somebody's saying, what does that mean? What does that look like?
Okay. Tools, again, accountability. Okay. And then you really have to be open, and you should not be isolated, because isolation will disrupt everything, because now you're only listening to your own negative self-talk.
Mhm.
So you have to have positive reinforcement around you. You have to have people that can speak life to you. And even though I see that you're a mess right now, if you walk this journey and if you take these steps, you can begin to see your life change. Now, it may not happen overnight, but just think, you're in a situation and you know that you respond incorrectly, okay? But now you're adapting these processes, you're trying them, and guess what? All of a sudden, you've got one situation where you didn't blow it. You know what I'm saying? Now you begin to see success, that I could do this. But again, it's not a walk in the park, but I know for a fact it can be done.
Oh, sure. And by the
Change
way,
can take place.
and no question, I'm with you 1,000%. And there's not a cookie cutter approach. Just because it worked for you doesn't mean it's going to work for me, work for Nan, whatever. But things can work, and that's the key. You got to find tools that work for you. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Got to find the tools that work for you. Yeah. Wow, there's a lot. We have a program we do on Monday mornings called, Servant Leadership 101. And so you've stepped into that realm big time, man. You are now an official servant leader, because you're talking about an area that's very difficult. And so by writing the book and by now helping people to process through, this is going to be a good thing for any and everybody that, that wants to avail themselves to your work. So let's switch gears for a minute though, because, this is the Writer's Workshop. And I'm going to get back to some of those videos. Brother Chris always does a good job. First, let's do this here before we go any further. Brother Gary Germany is a great singer too, by the way, and a musician. I work with him. I know that to be a fact, okay? And so that when you mentioned about being disappointed and thinking that you were going to go bigger or whatever, I get it. I hear what you're saying. There must have been some disappointment along the line that it didn't all, pan out. Because I know you got the gift. But I do want to play one of the songs that Brother Chris put together for us, and the images and everything. It's my poetry, your music, but check this out. And this is from the CD. What was the name of that CD, Gary? Do you remember?
Ancient Healings.
Here you go. Ancient Healings. I was sitting there trying to think of myself, my brother. Here we go. Can we make it a little bit louder, Chris? I don't know if you can.
We love you. Sisters singing freedom in honor of sweet honey in the rock. Sisters rooted together in harmony, sweet like honey, solid like a rock. sisters with blended voices remembering our ancestors, whose spirits rise from the soil, searching for the village of our tradition, the village of our elders, our teachers, and our souls. Sisters singing the culture swelled in the tears of liberation struggle and scars unforgettable, unending. Sisters singing the history draped in folk rhymes, telling our story like griots of old. We hum along to the callings of their voices as the folk songs grab us hard and move us gently through the universe, beckoning us to feel it, feel the power. Sisters singing deep down, down in the gospel sound, down in the Holy Ghost praise dance, down in the bush dance, honey sweet warriors covered by the dust of dry bones, adorned in African splendor, voices lifting inward to the heavens, reaching deep down to the trance of the God's bell, gospel music of the heart, sisters caressing the blues like the scent of last night's love as it evaporates into the fabric of reality that daylight must bring. Sisters rocking the blues, bebopping the blues, hip-hopping and slip-slopping the blues. And we shout, sing it, sister. I know what you're talking about. Sing those blues. We taste their words as they sing our blues, and we love it. Sisters singing sassy, getting jazzy, getting in the flow of life. And we are out there tipping and tripping on the stars, zooming over Venus, twirling around Saturn. And we hear Billy, she haunts us, and Ella gives us welcome. And we are out there with our sisters standing close, jazzing together. We are jazzy folk people who live the blues and sing the gospel. Our sisters who are sweet as honey and solid as a rock celebrate us and preserve our story. They give healing to our deepest wounds. And we are evocative again. We are phenomenal and beautiful and alive again. And we love our sisters. Yes, love our sisters who bring out the child in each of us and make us free. This is good. This is freedom. Yes, yes, sisters, this is good, shouts the village. Our sisters in song are good. And together the whole of us sing freedom, talking about freedom on our mind. And before I'll be a slave, I'll come up out of this grave and be free. Amen. We say amen to the sisters, sweet as honey and solid as a rock.
Oh, okay. Oh, we didn't see the last. Hey, how you doing, Angie? We didn't see the last part there where it gives all those. What's your name? But anyhow.
Thank you.
So the
Glad to
music
do
was
that.
by Gary?
I'm
The
sorry?
music- Was the music by you or what?
Yes.
Okay,
The music and the singing, the voices, that was all Gary.
okay.
Yeah. And it gives the credit at the end. I'm sorry to see that. Angie, how are you?
Hello.
Hey, how's
We're just
the food?
finishing up.
Good enough. Okay. Oh, did it go? Hey, everybody. Hey, okay. All right. Everybody say hello to the true folks. There's a focus. You were out of focus there for a second. Now, still out. Okay. Yeah, Angie, you're out of focus right now with the young people.
You
So,
can't,
yeah,
can you see them?
they're out of focus now.
Huh?
They're out of focus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately, this is about the best we're going to get.
No, if they can come closer to your camera, I think you'll be fine. Yeah. Yeah, I want to introduce you guys tonight to, there you go, thumbs up, yeah. I want to introduce you to our author, a special guest tonight. He's a minister, he's a musician, singer, but he's also an author. He's just written a dynamic book. And I want you guys to come up if you can, get closer to the camera. Maybe we can talk to you. Gary, these are some young people, and they're with a group called True. And
Okay.
about tobacco, educating people on tobacco use and what it does, and also how young people are being, targeted, for stuff like that. And also we had Nan Swanson on, you guys. I hope you can see Nan. Nan's a singer, and oh, did it go? Okay, yeah, all right. Good. There you go. You guys see me?
Yes.
All right, hello. Hey, sorry I'm not there tonight. We were hoping to come over. Actually, we hadn't thought about it to the last minute, but we're having some fun here. Can you introduce yourselves real quick? Can you just go around and introduce yourself?
My name's Jeremiah.
Tell me what school you go to.
I'm in Middle School. My name's Tayana. I graduated this past June.
Nice.
Hello, my name's India. I go to Bishop David. Hi, my name's Makai.
India
I
is
go to
the award winning.
Huh?
Hey, I said India is the one that won the award for World Affairs Council, right?
No. India.
Hello.
Did you win the World Affairs Council award? Did you
Yes,
win
I won
the contest for water? Yeah.
Yes, I did. I won the World Council, the World Affairs Council Award.
You did a great job. Excellent.
Thank
Excellent. Yeah, good to see you. Okay. I didn't mean to cut the other young person off.
My
There
name
you go.
is Central Dauphin High School.
Okay, excellent. Hey, good seeing you again. And also the one sitting in front there with the hood on. I missed you. Yeah.
My name is Makai, and I go to Dauphin County Technical School.
Okay, fantastic. Hey, look, our special guest tonight is Reverend Gary Germany. And again, he's a musician and, as I said, a minister, and also he's a singer. And also he just wrote a book, and the book is called, I'm gonna ask him to introduce the title of the book, and it's a hard-hitting subject, but I think it's something that, you need to know that sometimes when you write from very real, circumstances, it can be a bestseller because people are like, wow, hey, listen, this is happening to me, or I know it's happened to somebody else. And so Brother Germany, why don't you introduce the name of your book and tell them a little bit about the book?
The book is called Domestic Violence, The Fight of, The Fight of Your Life is what it's called. And it just really examines, in my particular situation, generational violence. In the book, I talk about how that my mother experienced it from her parents, which would have been my grandparents. I experienced it from my mother's household, and then myself in my household. Yeah. And so that's what the book is about. The journey.
Yeah, the journey. And I'm talking to the true students real quick. When you hear the words domestic violence, what comes to your mind? What do you think of? And I don't need you to talk about anything personal, just in terms of general. What do you think of when you hear domestic violence?
I think of physical violence.
Physical violence? Okay.
I think of emotional.
Emotional violence, physical violence, any other type? Okay. Do you think it's a huge problem in our community?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really? Who do you think is more victimized, men or women?
Women.
Yeah, and why do you think that is?
Like who does it?
Who's the victim?
Oh, women. Can you repeat your question, please?
Yeah, I asked the question, who do you think is, more of a victim in the situation? Is it men are victimized or women victimized? And you said women. And then my other question was, why do you think that is? Why are women, victimized by domestic violence so often in our communities? Just a general thought. There's no right or wrong answer.
Go through stuff where they see it in their household, so they think it's okay.
Angie, we can't hear them, Angie. Can you repeat it for us?
I think that people see it in their household, so they just think it's okay.
Yeah. A lot of times, go say it again. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
I think that it's both genders, it's not, it's equal.
So men or women can be the abuser,
I think that over centuries, women have been told that they need to be submissive, and a lot of what comes with that is that people think that, they can overpower women, and women think that they need to be submissive.
So I'm going to ask you guys, I know this is kind of awkward and everything. I'm going to ask you just to move a little bit closer. Every last one of you move closer to the microphone, because we really want to hear what you have to say. Because I know that you're saying some good stuff where we're missing it though. And just talk nice and loud, because Brother Germany really wants to hear this. Because he's promoting his book and he would love to hear your perspective. Repeat that, please.
Over the centuries, women have been taught that they need to be submissive and listen to men, and that is come with physical violence.
Yeah. Brother Gary, did you want to respond to that? Oh, you mentioned it's generational, and so talk about that for a minute.
Yes. I would say that it is a distorted view on that, where women must be subjective to the husband. I know the scriptures talk about being subjective to your husband, but it also says that the man should love his wife, like Christ gave his life for the church. And if a man is smart, he'll understand that the gift of a woman blesses his life. In other words, makes his life all that he could never imagine. Men need women. If you're going to be really true about it, need women, for the gift that they are, and they will enhance your life. And it's only a distorted person who can't see that I'm going to love the women in my life, whether it be my daughter, whether it be my niece. I'm going to love them. I'm going to care for them. I'm going to protect them, and I'm going to cover them, never abuse them in any form.
Amen.
So, yeah, absolutely. So then I want to ask the true group then. So that's the ideal. We want, a man should love his wife, should love, his daughters, should love women, period. But the reality is, a lot of times the women become the object of the violence, the anger, whatever it might be. Brother Gary laid that out really powerfully tonight. And then they become objects, and they're punched, kicked, talked about, put down. We had a young lady who was only 15, I think she's 15 years old, and her mom had been abused, she said, her entire life. She said, by the time she realized she's in high school, she said she just couldn't take it anymore. So she took a camera and she hid it, and she watched her father do his thing again. And then she took it to school. And all these years, she never shared this with anybody, but she showed the video to a teacher who showed it to a counselor. It ended up, the gentleman got something like 50 years in prison. His abuse was so horrible and so egregious that the judge, a grown man, sat there and cried. And they showed this, I think you can find it on Facebook. He started to talk and he just broke down crying. He said, I've never seen nothing like this in my life. He said, how could you do that to that woman who was the mother of your children and this and that? So it was really hard hitting. And again, even the judge cried. So the question becomes, especially for you young people, as you're beginning to grow and you get relationships and mates, and I want Nan to get in there too. What do you look out for to know that you're not being abused or being, taken advantage of? And just like any of you young people, and I know.
Reverend Nate, before we go there, can we go over the all the types of abuse so they can understand that there's more than just two?
Break it down.
So then we can probably better answer your question.
Okay, well, break it down. I know you have a lot of experience. Go ahead, Angela. What are some of the other things that you would lift up?
There's emotional abuse, physical abuse, psychological abuse,
financial,
verbal.
What did you say?
Verbal
abuse.
Can you
explain this? Financial. There's a lot. You're absolutely right. There's so many different ways for a person to put you down. Brother Gary, what else would you add to that?
Emotional,
verbal, physical, financial,
verbal, psychological.
And we talked about psychological. Even I mentioned terrorizing.
Oh, just terrorizing. Yeah.
Oh
yeah. Yeah. No question. Yeah, that's a huge one.
Like psychological. They'll mess with your brain and try to tell you that what you're doing is wrong and you're the reason why they have to beat on you.
Okay.
Yeah, emotional.
Yeah, that's right.
Emotional is when they would take away like your kids. They would tell your kids and how you're not worth it. You don't know how to cook. You're not clean, and that starts to isolate yourself. You don't want to go nowhere because you think you're not good enough to be seen. And then the physical, and then the verbal is always saying something bad about you, putting you down, beating you down, demeaning you. Yeah.
One thing go ahead, Dan.
I was just going to say, giving the woman low self-esteem, just like Angie said, breaking them down to where they don't feel like they're nothing. But do you see Dan Snowden's on?
No, I didn't see Dan. Dan's on?
He's been on for like 10 minutes.
Dan Snowden?
Yep,
I don't see him
here
at
all
all.
right. All right,
Dan,
I'm here all right though.
okay, I'm glad you're here, Dan. Yeah, I didn't see you. Your picture's not coming up at all. Even your phone usually comes up like your phone. So anyhow, Dan, welcome. This is Dr. Dan Snowden, everybody, and he's a real fine writer, poet, but also a scientist. And Dan, our guest tonight is Gary Germany, and Reverend Gary Germany, and he is an author. He's just written a really powerful book that talks about domestic violence, and so that's what we're highlighting tonight. Young ladies and young men, one of the things that we talk about with young people is, and I heard the word isolation. And when you find yourself with a person who is taking you away from your friends, always having you only to themselves, that kind of thing, that's a sign.
To your family. Your family.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And away from family, yes. Brother Gary, do you agree with that?
Absolutely. You know, taking you from your family, controlling you, abusing you, you know, those are forms of violence, domestic violence. Absolutely, yes.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. Dr. Dan, we're talking about domestic violence today. Did you have any thoughts on that, or, why, these kind of things happen and all that?
I think, in my opinion, it's just more or less the one doing the abusing has a number of could have insecurities, and that's those insecurities are being, I guess, transferred onto the person that they want to abuse. I mean, that's how I read it.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think Brother Gary touched on that you had.
Yeah, that's exactly what I stressed in the book. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about the writing process for our young people, because, okay, you had this powerful book that's out there. How did you get started writing it? And then what was your discipline? Because to write a book takes some discipline. What was your discipline to get it done?
I knew that God spoke with me. And if a person doesn't interpret it that way, it becomes something so urgent to you that you're not satisfied until you complete the task. And all I wanted to do was finish this book so I could communicate it with other people. Now, what's amazing is I started another book, and I'm 4 years into the writing of that one. But this one, it took a year, if that much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how did you find time to write? Where did you write and when?
Well, technology is great. We've got our phones, we've got iPads, we've got laptops. And so whenever I would get the inspiration, I would write it down. And then I'd go back and review it. Then I would start putting it together. One thing that I would recommend for writers is when you get that idea, don't try to edit it then, just write it down. And then go back and begin to form it.
Because you lose that idea trying to be perfect, right?
Yes, just write it down.
Yeah.
Did you see it as a form of therapy for you, for yourself?
Yes, it was therapeutic for me. And it was interesting because I would share it with a couple of people. And then not just men, but one of the things that I would share, people were surprised and they were shocked, but it opened up conversation. And then people begin to be healed. Like I shared it with this one woman and she began to cry. Then I cried, because it was so touching. And I realized that everyone can relate to some form what I've written in the book. And it also can be healing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very good. One of the things I want to do is I want to transition real quick to Brother Chris and ask him if he'll put up another video of a spoken word piece for the night. One of the things we try to introduce every Friday night are some of these spoken word artists that are out there so that we can, stay current and get ideas from other writers. And let's look at this piece together.
Dear Addiction, I'm writing this letter to you in hopes that this is the last one. I'm so angry and tired of you. We've been stuck with each other for years, we're inseparable, but I don't really know what I loved you for. I thought without you in my life I would never feel whole. You led me to believe you would do me no wrong. You promised me all my problems would disappear. You made me believe you were the cure for every kind of pain. I trusted you with all my heart. I laid my life in your hands and you tore it apart. I was an innocent child who knew no evil. When I introduced you to my life is when all the problems came. You hurt not only me but my family, my friends, my life. You ruined it all. After all these years you've done nothing but drag me down. You got me addicted, you brainwashed me, you blinded me so I couldn't see. Now my life is a mess and you're to blame. Dear addiction, I want to see my mom and dad being proud of me again. Smiles on their faces when they see me. Cause since when we started the journey with you, home is a trouble. My parents are depressed. They're always howling with pain, wondering how I'll get out of this life. They don't see how my future will be because they already see me as a dead person while I'm still alive. You really tore my life apart. Why can't you just go and hide somewhere far where I can't find you again? Dear addiction, now it's time to seek revenge. I've heard about Jesus Christ who heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. This is the one I'm going to follow from now. Our relationship is over. There's no more mains, no second chance. It's a goodbye forever. I know I may be weak for the new decision I'm taking, but the Spirit of the Lord will be stronger in me. God will be by my side for this final goodbye. So watch me now. Watch me as I go on my way to salvation so you and your power can just leave me. I'm taking my life and setting it free. So, sweet Jesus, take this addiction from me. Cleanse it from my soul. Fill me with your Holy Spirit. Let me now be whole. Help me keep my eyes always focused on you. Jesus, I know I've always put you last, but please forgive me for my sins of the past. Take my life, heal my broken heart, help me turn the page. I'm ready to do my part. Jesus, you transform lives. You can make me a brand new man. Thank you, Lord, for turning my life into something new.
Nice.
To the True Group, were you able to see that, and what's your thoughts on that? Anybody, any comments?
I bet that video really helped, and her just writing that really helped her heal, or at least review her healing process. So that's really good.
Mm-hmm. I understand you're all working on some essays. Is that right? Is there something that you're writing or working on?
They just did a skit.
Yeah, and I have an essay.
Did you do an essay? Did you do an essay too? Did everybody do their individuals?
Yeah.
I like Ben that essay.
We submitted a skit.
That turned out.
For we just submitted a skit tonight for the Absalom and Jones contest, and some of us also did personal project.
Now, what's it called? Solomon Jones?
You want to see it? We can show you the video real quick.
Yeah, sure. Why don't you do that? Show us the video if you can.
It's only like, what, 2 minutes? Yeah, it's only about 2 minutes long.
Can you send it to Brother Chris? If you email it to him, I think he can put it up for everybody to see.
Oh.
Yeah, can you do that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wait, let me see.
Yeah, because
yeah, he
kind of
emailed
fuzzy.
it to me. Hold on.
Yeah, just send it to
Hold on,
Brother Chris.
Let me see. Which email did you send it to? Oh, wait.
A-Bates at Dolphin
My job. Okay, I got to log into that one. Sorry, it's gonna take me a minute to log in.
That's okay. Brother Chris, can I ask you if you can send your information out to Angie real quick, or somehow she can get it so she can send it to you and you can maybe put it up for us?
Sure, Angie. Are you going to email it?
Angie?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
Brother Chris is talking to you.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put it in the chat for you. I'm gonna put my email into the chat now.
Angie, did you hear him say he's going to put it in the chat?
Hold on. Yeah, hold on. My phone, I gotta.
Oh, okay. Don't worry.
Are you on? Just tell my mom your email. She'll send it to you. Hello?
She's got the can you hear me? I can hear you.
No. Okay, guys. All right, give her the email address and she'll email it to you.
Can you see it, ma'am, or do you need me to say it for you?
I can't see.
Okay, it's The Voice.
I got you.
The Voice 17104 @gmail.com, ma'am.
Technology is so amazing.
Okay, it should be coming through soon.
Okay, great. Great, excellent. So yeah, we love to see it, you know. That's good. That's a skit that they wrote, right?
Just now today. Just put it together.
Excellent.
New people, they don't really know each other. There's new, you know what I mean? They just came together and just did it today.
Praise God.
That's good. So
Put it together.
all right, way to go.
My shoulder just hurts like real bad.
Well, what we'll do is, again, let me just say this to the people tuning in. This is the Writers Workshop. We come on every Friday night from 7 p.m. until 9 p.m. here on The Voice, 17104 Harrisburg. And if you want to get on and be a part of this, you contact me and we will, give you the Zoom information for you to come on and be a part of the program. Otherwise, you can watch it on Facebook Live. On The Voice 17104 Harrisburg, when they're stationed there on Facebook. We do a number of things. February the 19th, we'll be at the State Museum, and it's a Sunday program. It's a Black History program from 1 p.m. until 4 p.m. And we're honoring 5 individuals and 5 families that have represented, and kept the culture alive, of African American culture alive for years. And we're recognizing some of those people, and you'll see that all of them are more than worthy of the recognition. And then, of course, we're going to have a whole program full of different activities, presenters, that whole 9 yards. And it's all free. It's absolutely free. There's no cost whatsoever, just a lot of fun. And if you come out and, participate, you'll be blessed, okay? And don't forget that there are 2 dynamic plays coming up. One is taking place currently over at Gamut Theater, and it's being put on by Sankofa African American Theater with Sharia Ben. And I know it's this weekend, and I think it may be next weekend as well. But anyhow, rave reviews all over Facebook about it. And it's about the 8th Ward here in Harrisburg, and how significant that 8th Ward was years ago, before, the state stepped in and started building state buildings and all that kind of stuff. But it was like this mecca of Black churches, Black, life in the 8th Ward of Harrisburg, and they brought that to life. Also, then this Hair Story. Hair Story will take place in May. It's written by Maria Chow, and it's true stories. People looking at African Americans with the hair, and she interviewed people and put poetry and then put it to a choreo poem. All that is great. Okay, the video is ready. Yes, indeed. Okay, so if you can show the video, appreciate it. Here we go.
Hi y'all, how are y'all?
Good, you?
Good. What's that? This is actually a vape, also called an e-cigarette.
Okay. Where did you get that from?
I got it from the store over there. Actually, they don't ask your age.
It literally looks like lip gloss though. You sure it's like not?
Right. Yeah, so some of them look like lip gloss, some of them look like candy. They come in candy flavors, like cotton candy. Yeah, cotton candy, watermelon, whatever you like.
Mama would never know if I didn't know.
They would never know. Kids vape it in school and at home. And parents don't know.
So cool. You want to go get one?
Yeah.
Yeah, come on. Hey, can I get a bubblegum flavored vape?
Most black dudes smoke Newports.
I asked for a vape.
Whatever. You look like you want a vape too.
Yeah. Thank
You
you.
want some too?
No.
Nah, no thank you.
Hi.
Here we got the vape.
Got it.
Oh, y'all got a vape too?
Yeah.
Oh my
I
gosh.
should ask her age.
Wow.
Hey guys, do you know the tobacco industry targets African Americans, low-income people, and all youth? A direct quote from a tobacco executive states, "We don't smoke that stuff. We just sell it. We reserve the right to smoke for the young, the poor, the black, and stupid."
So they just think we're stupid?
Right?
And they're targeting young black people?
It's kind of crazy. I think we should ditch these vapes, yeah.
Definitely.
This is a healthy person, who don't smoke.
And this is a person's lung who does smoke. Down here, the lung does not function. Here, there is a tumor, and the black color comes from tar and cigarettes. This can also be a person's lung who vapes. They just won't have the black color.
This is the amount of tar in a half a pack of cigarettes that you would smoke in a year.
This is the amount of phlegm a smoker will cough up in about 2 weeks.
This is the irreversible damage that happens to your lungs.
Hello, we're Dauphin County True, and we're here to teach the community about the harms of tobacco and vape use. Big tobacco, we're watching you.
Good stuff.
All right.
Needs to go on TV.
So tell us about. Oh, okay. I see the the director back there stepping in as well. So someone step up and tell us about what is the purpose of the video, and what did you do that for? You submitted that to somebody?
What did you say? I didn't think
You got frozen. Can you repeat that?
Yeah. Did they submit that? Who did they submit that to? And what was it produced for?
It is for the Absalom Jones contest. The Reverend Canon Kate Harrigan is the one who's, I guess, hosting it or sponsoring it. It's going to be at the Union of Black Episcopalians, the Bishop Nathan Baxter's chapter at the St. Paul's Episcopal Church on Seneca Street in Harrisburg. February 12th.
When is all this? Fantastic. Good.
It's going to be next Sunday, February the 12th.
Excellent. Excellent. That's
At
good.
what time?
What time is it? Hold on. It starts at 2 o'clock, 2 p.m.
Okay. 2 p.m.
Okay.
Great. Excellent.
And it's for middle schoolers. It's for grades 3 to 5. Middle school and high school students can submit these essays or skits or plays or anything that they want to do because it's a contest. So we had someone win the last time. Oh, sure.
Okay. Hello, everybody. If I could share, with this contest, monetary awards will be provided during it's Dr. George H. Love Award ceremony, and winners are invited to present their submissions in person as part of Absalom Jones Day. Absalom Jones was very, very influential. I don't know if everybody knew about him with the yellow fever epidemic in the Philadelphia area. And also because he broke away from the Methodist Church when they no longer they wanted us, the Black people in the church, to go to the balcony instead of being side by side as they were before an integrated body. So they were learning a little the background about what Absalom Jones did. So on Sunday, February 12th, at the St. Paul Episcopal Church, which is 248 Seneca Street in Harrisburg. At 2 p.m., the winners will be notified, and their winners, their parents, and guests are invited to partake in an agape meal, light refreshments, following the awards ceremony at 3 p.m., and they remain for uplifting evensong service dedicated to African Jones in the sanctuary at 4 o'clock. This contest, we had some of our young people who were entered before, and we had, I think, 3 winners from our group. We had a young lady who did artwork, and then Janice Baldwin entered, and she was one of our first place winners, and London McLean from Writers Wordshop. So Janice and London were previous winners, but I just think it's always beneficial for us to have our young people learn their history, learn about those who came before them, the struggles, because he addressed social justice issues. So their focus, we were looking at the health, poverty. Okay, my daughter said stop. Okay, but
domestic violence could be one of them too. Domestic violence.
Right on. Right
Yeah.
on. Huh? That's great stuff, though.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, listen, I know we're going to run out of time here. So real quick, we have our author on tonight. I'm going to ask the young people, back to them, whether or not they could tell us if they have any questions for Mr. Reverend Germany tonight.
I'm using Angela's phone, so I have to figure out how to get back to the young people, Angela, so he can ask if they have any questions. Okay, here they go.
Yeah, so I want to give them an opportunity to ask Reverend Germany any questions they have about his writing, about his book, or anything. Any questions from the True Group? It's okay if not. Any questions? Anybody?
What made you want to start writing that book?
Did you say what made me want to start to write it?
Right.
I understood that if this message was shared, and it was shared especially from a man's point of view, for accountability, that for no reason whatsoever, it is never right, it is never justified for a man to put his hands on a woman. There's no reason whatsoever, and with that being said, there are going to be times where you're out of sync, you're, challenging one another. Even with that, there are proper ways to conduct yourself. You don't want to try to control someone. And so these are things that I wanted to put out in the book, because I've seen domestic violence episodes in my life. And I was the one that thought that I would never be an abuser. I kind of looked down on someone that did do it, but yet I also found out there was elements in which created this form of behavior to erupt out of me, and it was wrong. But I lost confidence in myself. I forgot who I was.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Maybe the young people can do a scenario on domestic violence and do a little skit, do a little research, and do a skit on it.
Interesting. Yeah, it may be interesting. So after, what other projects, by the way, young people, are you involved in? I know that you're doing this skit, of course, on the 12th, presenting what you've already done. What else do you have coming up for the True Project?
What's that? We're going to the Capitol to talk to legislators about tobacco. And talk to legislators about tobacco.
We really can't hear you.
We're going to the Capitol to talk to legislators about tobacco.
Okay.
The harms of tobacco. The harm.
So you're going to the state capitol. That's excellent. So you get a chance to see some of the representatives and senators. Okay, great. Good. Anybody writing just individual? I know that you have at least one poet sitting there, but anyone else writing anything that's of interest, whether it be a book, a poem, a song, anything? Anybody?
Oh, I wrote an essay on Japanese treatment in World War II.
Wow. Okay.
I have that.
Cool. That's real cool. Thanks for sharing that. All right.
I just recently wrote a novel about a girl who uncovers her dad's scandal, and now she's trying to expose him low key, and she's trying to get her mom to realize that there are signs here that you need to see. And my dad is not who you think he is. That's kind of
Wow.
That's interesting. Wow.
That is very interesting. You said you wrote the novel already? Did you write it?
Yeah, it's fully written. I have. I'm sorry.
Wonderful.
Is it published?
Are you getting it published at all? Are you planning on publishing it?
Publish it.
Definitely. I'm 100%. I'm always writing constantly. I just really want to get my voice out there.
Okay, that's fantastic. What's your name? Say your name.
My name is Tayana.
Say it again.
Kayana.
Kayana.
My name is
Okay,
Kayana.
very good, very good. Well, here's the thing, Piano. Through the Writers Workshop, we have a lot of different people that have come on throughout the years, and publishers and all that. Right now, we're working with Terry Martinez, and she has what's called T-Dub Publishing. So T-D-U-B Publishing. Just go online and look that up. And she's literally sitting right in my front room right now. But anyhow, she loves helping people, especially young people, get their books out. She's very good at what she does. She's actually finishing up a book of my own. And so I'd like to put you in touch with her. She's not the only person you can talk to, but there's other people. So she's one, and she can get you on Amazon and all that kind of stuff and help you with the full treatment, okay? And how you doing, sir? Good seeing you.
Oh, hello, Mr. Gadsden.
So if you send
How
me
are
your
you?
email address, I'll send it to Terry.
Good,
I'll link
good.
you, email you, do an e-invite with you and Terry.
Okay, thank you.
I'll send everything through Angie, and Angie will get it to you then. Yeah. And I'm sorry, I'm always bad at names. Angela, introduce us to the gentleman back there who's running the True program.
Hi, I'm Eric Rothmo from the Harrisburg Area YMCA Center for Healthy Living.
All right. And you're doing a great job with the young people along with Angie. Tell us anything you want to tell us tonight?
Did he say his name?
Did you say your name one more time? I'm sorry. It looks like they're frozen. Oh, you guys are frozen up all of a sudden.
I'm from the Harrisburg Area YMCA.
Can you hear us now?
Now I hear you.
Are we frozen
Yeah.
for everybody?
No, you were frozen
Okay.
there for a minute. Now I hear you. Yeah.
All right,
Okay, I'm Eric Rothmo from the Harrisburg Area YMCA Center for Healthy Living. We have a tobacco control program, and this True Group is one of our prevention programs that we do all over Dauphin, Cumberland, and Perry counties. But this is our Dauphin County group.
Fantastic. Good stuff. Good group. Good group. And we love the fact that they're willing to come on, and talk. We hope that we can maybe help with some kind of project. By the way, one of the things we do is we do a poetry contest for youth. And last year we gave out over $1,000 to 8 people who came. And it was open to any and everybody, but we had 8 contestants show up, and we were at the State Museum, and they really did a great job. And so we promised X amount to the first place, second place, and third place winners. And nobody walked away a loser. Everybody got something. So, and there's no such thing as a loser anyhow. And if you participate in something, you're winning, So anyhow, we hope that you will all keep that in mind. How many of you are at least in the 9th grade and up? 9th graders? Any 9th graders? I see a couple hands. Okay.
There's,
So I want to
there's two
remind
ninth
you.
graders. There's 2 ninth graders.
Okay.
2
2.
ninth graders.
Good.
1 12th grader.
Okay.
1 8th grader.
Uh-huh.
And 1 that just graduated from high school, now working for the nonprofit foundation in Harrisburg called the Joshua House, which
Nice.
the Joshua Group.
Yeah, Joshua.
You want to tell them about your group?
Yeah, so Joshua Group is a nonprofit organization. We work with grades kinder up into 12th grade, pay their tuition in full, so that they don't have to worry about scholarships. It's for like anti-poverty and stuff like that.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So here's the deal. We have this thing called, and I know you heard this before, the NAACP AXO competition is coming up very quickly. It'll be, I think it's March the 25th, I believe, which is a Saturday. And, it's going to be virtual, but there are some 32 different categories, or 33, that you can enter into: poetry, oratory, playwright, physics, I mean, medicine, chemistry, all that stuff. So the point being, we want you to consider being a contestant for the AXO program. It is such a wonderful program, both locally, and then you can go to the national. And Kaba Brunson, who is the director, does a tremendous job of helping to raise funds from various entities. And so we're able to fly out to San Antonio, Texas, to go to these different places. And he just does a fantastic job of finding those funds. So this year it'll be in Boston, Massachusetts. That'll be later on in the summer. And we'll be taking you all there to Boston. Anyone that gets a gold medal, qualifies to compete on the national level. And last year we had a winner in medicine for the first time. We had a gold medalist who won in medicine, Madison Stokes. We had a young lady win a $10,000 scholarship from Napita Nyong'o, and there were 40 such young women from around the country. And the young lady from here in Harrisburg, who's now a freshman in college, she won. And the place erupted. It was just incredible. We had another young lady from Milton Hershey School, who took third place in traditional dance. And believe me, the competition is fierce. Some of these people have been studying for years. And you're like, wow, that's so good. So to have people from Harrisburg actually go up there and compete, there's like 800 to 900 young people from around the country that descend, and they represent every state, and they come in smoking. They're really, really good. And so for us to win is no small feat. So I just want you to know that you can compete on the national level, and don't think you can't. So what you are producing, what you're doing is good stuff. And there's nobody better. So just keep that in mind. So anyhow, if you want to know more about AXO, I'll make sure that Angela gets all of the information, and then you can apply. You still have plenty of time to apply. Already we're up to like some 40 young people that are already applied to be a part of the AXO, and so you still have plenty of time. We'll tell you more about that. Anyhow, this has been great tonight, and we look forward to working with you, hopefully in person next month. We'll be there the first Friday of the month, and sit down with you and all that. I want to thank Gary Germany, Reverend Germany. We're going to buy your books, man. I'm going to get the books into the hands of, I want to help you promote your book and get it in the hands of all these churches and all these men's groups and everything. Nan Swanson, she knows everybody. Dan will help him out. She knows everybody. And then Angela, oh my goodness, you got to hook up with Angela, because Angela's in social service and all that. And she actually worked as a probation officer and used to bring the men to my groups when I used to go out there to the what is it called, work release center, Angie?
Yes.
Yeah,
they just brought back the reentry breakfast for returning citizens.
Oh, really? Okay.
Having that, I can send you the information on that as well.
Please do. I want to sponsor that again. That's excellent. Okay. But listen, everybody, we're going to wrap it tonight. Again, let's stay in touch. Whatever you do, keep on writing, keep on producing. Don't think for a minute that it's for naught. When we write books, people read our books. And when they read our books, they get inspired, they learn, and so that's what we have to do. We have to produce. Your skit was nice. I like your skit quite a bit. I hope that it
was wonderful.
People will love it. Back on, was it February the 12th over there at St. Paul's Episcopal? I actually hope to be in the house, we'll see. Nan, thank you for everything that you're doing. Reverend Dr. Snowden, are you still there? I think Dr. Snowden may have gone. Okay, anyhow.
Well, he's still, his name's still up there, but I'm
here.
Okay, real quick, Brother Chris, can I see you for a minute?
Okay, we're going to get out so we can get the kids home.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Hope to see you on the 12th.
Thank you. Yeah.
Nice meeting you, Reverend
Okay,
Gary.
see everybody. Thank you, ladies. Do we have a second for just one quick poem?
Oh, you don't even have to ask, please, please.
Everybody stay warm.
One quick poem. Brother Dr. Snowden.
Yes.
Give us a poem, man, that we can leave out tonight.
Okay, sure. Be more than happy to. I'll pick one here.
And while he's doing that, Brother Chris, when we did the sisters at the end, there's like some credits and everything.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and Brother Gary was in that, wasn't he?
I thought just your wife in the writer's Wordshop, but it's in the credit on YouTube. In the credit.
Okay. Well, let's make sure we put it on just to make sure he gets it. Yeah, I know it was on YouTube. I saw. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's written on the video, but it's not. It's not in the video presentation.
I'll use the animal poem here.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, but I just want to make sure. I want him to see more of those too. All right, but Dr. Snowden, go ahead.
Okay, I'll do an animal poem here. This is the arthropods. None of us can escape the arthropods, animals with jointed legs and feet. With the widest range of species, their numbers on planet Earth can't be beat. The insects are the largest in this group, with types such as ants, beetles, wasps, and bees, mantises, grasshoppers, and butterflies, and pests like flies, earwigs, lice, and fleas. Arachnids are quite familiar to all, with spiders and scorpions in the mix. There are also some pesky members here. Those accursed critters called mites and ticks. Some arthropods carry many leg pairs, one or two sets attached to each segment. These creatures are called myriapods, millipedes and centipedes named common. The last group of arthropods in this piece are known for being water-dwelling beasts. Crabs, lobsters, shrimp, and barnacles fit here. Landforms like the sawbug exist at least. So arthropods are all over the place, covering all habitat and form. Thus, encountering the varied creatures on the whole just qualifies as the norm.
All right, appreciate that.
All right, Brother Dan.
From the creative mind of Dr. Dan Snowden. Hey, listen, everybody, have yourself a blessed day. Whatever you do, keep on writing and keep on supporting writers who write.
And stay warm.
Talk to you more. Yeah, stay warm. Well,
Nice
we gotta go.
meeting
See
you.
y'all. Good night now.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.